Hi guys! Welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new legal advice content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first one is titled, Landlocked Neighbors Are Advertising That the Property They Are Selling Has an Easement That It Doesn't Have Through Our Land. Georgia. I hope this story isn't too long, but I'm not sure what details are necessary. I've separated the backstory and the question just in case the backstory isn't necessary. Backstory. I live with my family on about 50 acres of property in Georgia. My great-grandfather left this property to my father when he died. All in all, it has been in the family for about 35 years. He bought the land in small increments. By doing this, ended up buying most of the land surrounding someone else's land. He made the land much better by building a road, paying for power lines to be put in, building a house on the property, etc. The landlocked land was completely empty. My great-grandfather offered to sell an easement to the owner of the other property several times, as well as give him access to the power lines, and well, he had commissioned, for well under market value. The guy never used the land though and declined. We never had an issue with him, but we have always had issues with his kids trying to trespass on our property to get to theirs. We have been living on it for about 10 years. It sat empty for about 10 years before that, with family just coming to take care of the land and the house on the weekends. We were constantly catching the kids going up to the property to smoke, drink, and throw parties. We have several no trespassing signs that they would just ignore. We have made several calls to the police about them. Question. The original owner has since passed, and the kids are trying to sell the property. We are constantly having people drive up our road, our driveway is about a half-mile long, to go look at the property. We tell each one that we catch that there is no easement and that they are on private property. Each one tells us that the seller is advertising that there is an easement. What can we do about this? I want to reiterate that we tried selling this family an easement, but they refused to buy one and now they are advertising that they have one and people. Edit. A lot of people are mentioning easement of necessity. If part of their land is landlocked by someone else's land, this part of the land being closer to a road, they would have to get the easement on that land, right? Update. Hey guys, I have a minor update for you. First, I wanted to thank you all for the help you provided the other day. We are adding the signs, game cameras, and updating the fence. My dad went and got a copy of the deeds from our property and the landlocked property. It turns out that the landlocked property has an easement from the third-party property I showed in my last post. He does not have one through our property. The seller of the landlocked property is telling people it is through our property though because we have a road and the other one does not. We have informed the person who we believe will buy it and he was hostile, but he understood he had no grounds to use our property. I'm hoping this will be the end of it. Update 2. I am so sorry. I really didn't think I would have to update this again so soon. We were leaving to go out tonight and we saw the potential buyer on our property with his real estate attorney. We calmly pointed out we had shown them that they didn't have an easement. They were extremely hostile and yelled at us that we couldn't ask them to leave because they had an easement. We reminded them that the easement was from the other property and not ours. The buyer is a real estate developer and he told us he is going to hire a friend of his who does land surveys to come out tomorrow to say that the easement does come from our property. I have no idea how he plans to do it. Honestly, the guy was hard to understand. Should we hire our own surveyor? Is there any way we can prove his surveyor is biased? What else should we be concerned about? Update 3. I wanted to thank everyone for all of the help. This should be the last update. We put up security cameras in several places throughout the property and re-secured the gate. The surveyors that the real estate developer hired admitted they had no easement through our land and wrote that in his report. The owner is still trying to use our driveway, but the gate has stopped him, and the cameras have caught him each time he has tried. Hopefully this is all over. The next one is titled, I had gone for 1-week vacation and gave my house keys to a friend to look after and take care of my 2 dogs at my house. Now, he gave keys to his girlfriend and let her stay at my home. She isn't leaving now after I come home. I called cops, but they say this would be a civil matter. What to do? Santa Monica, California. I'm owner of 2-story house. I had gone to Hawaii last week for 1-week vacation with my wife. No one was at home, and it wasn't feasible for us to take dogs with us. So, I gave my house keys to a good friend of mine and asked him to take care of my 2 dogs. This would involve feeding them, changing waters and taking them to 1-hour walk daily. So, his girlfriend was in town, and she had no place to stay. He lives in 1-bedroom condo with 2 other roommates. So, he messaged me and asked me if I would allow his girlfriend to stay at my home for just 1 night. I agreed as it was just matter of 1 night. Now, yesterday I came back and found out his GF has made dwelling in upper floor of my house. She has been staying here for 4 days. I asked her to leave immediately, but she and my friend are insisting to let her stay 1 more week because she in search of a job in La California. I called police. They came and said this would be a civil matter and I have to go through eviction process. So, I'm here with an unwanted stranger in upper floor, an asshole friend who broke promise and pissed off wife. What to do, guys? Can I change locks and throw her stuff out when she's away? Cut the electricity to upper floor? Update. Good morning, guys. This is an uplifting update. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you guys for such an overwhelming response. I'm glad that there are people who would spend time from their busy life to help a random stranger on internet. So, after reading all of advices here and carefully discussing this matter with my cousin, we made a nasty plan. Last night that squatter girl went outside to grab some dinner with her boyfriend. Me and my cousin carefully packed all of her stuffs in her 3-bag left in our front porch and locked ourselves in house. We also looked over her stuffs from window to make sure no one steals it. Our wait was over after 2 hours when girl returned. She figured it out and started pounding at our door, yelling loudly to open door. You know, typical squatter drama. We told her to go duck off and we won't open the door. So, finally after 30 minutes of constant drama, she dared to call cops. I was nervous how it would turn out. Cops arrived. Fortunately, these were different ones than previous night. First, they listened to her side. Then they came to me. I explicitly told them that I was sole owner of house and never allowed girl to stay more than 1 night. She was not only trespassing but also living in my house illegally without my permission. Bitch kept saying I had given permission to stay there indefinitely and now kicking her out. Officer said she has any proof of that. She claimed she had some message which accidentally got deleted. Now the best part, officer then asked her for an ID. She gave ID. Officer verified it over radio. Suddenly, they told him this witch had a failure to appear warrant for months-old shoplifting case. Stupid lady was arrested immediately. His stuffs were sent to friend's house. Officer said that I don't need to worry, and they'll take care of her. I do not require any further action. So, finally I'm relived from that squatter and witch is behind bars. What a justice boner. All's well that ends well. The next one is titled, Parents Bought a House 6 Years Ago. 2 separate groups of people have come around claiming to be previous owners who left something there and would like to look around to find it. Actual previous owner died at the end of February. Pennsylvania. Writing on behalf of my parents. My father had the pleasure of meeting the first 3 people to visit 2 weeks ago claiming they used to live there in the 2000s and left some items they need back. Dad told them to go away and it's his house now, the right response, I think. The actual previous owner owned the house since the late 1970s until mid-2014 when my parents bought it. Just last weekend another couple came around making a similar claim, but they were very pushy, threatened to do my father for theft, threatened to bring the police around, and told Dad he probably knew exactly why they were there. Dad pushed back and demanded they tell him precisely what they thought they wanted from inside the house, but they wouldn't tell him anything specific. One of them let slip something like they'd know when they found it. They didn't get anywhere or do anything like phone police and left. I'm running scenarios around in my head that when the previous owner died, he had a will that left people something really valuable that was hidden in my parents' house. What would their responsibility be if there was something hidden in the house and left in a will? Do my mother and father own it? Would that depend on the value? If it was unknown at time of purchase, does its ownership stay with the previous owner? Is there a blanket way to stop people coming to the door and being pushy like the last couple? I guess that's not possible without armed guards, but maybe if we had a copy of the will, it could be resolved or worked around. Are wills public? My father plans to tell the next people to visit that he knows what they're looking for and it's been sold, but I don't think that's a good course of action. I don't know if the item even exists or if it's something like great-grandpa's forgotten childhood sled or a bank robbery from 50 years ago with proceeds packed in the walls. Imagination goes wild, but there's something that some multiple someones think is there. I'm especially worried about how pushy they might get if they get my mother alone, as she's not as forceful as my father. Updated. After my first post, my parents had another person visit who was also much like the previous ones, aggressive and wouldn't take no for an answer. They were also contacted that same day by someone claiming to be an executor for a will, and that person was much more sensible, but Dad still told them he wouldn't hand over anything but to contact his lawyer, which they understood, and did so. We found out via the executor and Dad's lawyer that there was a will where the previous owner indicated some belongings accessible with a set of keys in a distinctive described key pouch. Not long after Dad moved in, he'd found that exact set of keys while renovating the bathroom and almost threw them out as they didn't match any locks in the house. They'd been tossed in a kitchen drawer for years. Dad's lawyer said there was no reason not to hand the keys over, but no reason to do so either, or it was up to him. He handed the keys over to the executor through his lawyer. I would have expected if anything was left to someone in a will, the executor would have the power to drill any locks needed, but we guess it just makes their life easier. There were about 30 keys. It's not the proceeds of a 50-year-old bank heist hidden in the walls, but a little bit interesting. Last one is titled, City is saying my vacant house used 75,000 gallons of water in a month. Oregon. I moved out of my house in July and put it on the market. There has been no one in the home since July 2nd. The city saying that from July 22nd to August 22nd my meter recorded 74,892 gallons of water usage, on my city plot, 50 by 100 feet lot. We checked for a water leak, there is none. We had no hoses out, we have a sprinkler system, but it only runs for 20 minutes every morning, and has a rain sensor. I called the city and said there must be a mistake. They said there wasn't and that they checked on the 19th of August and the meter was sitting at the same place it is currently. They told me I could pay to replace the water meter on a house I no longer own and still eat the cost of the 400 bills. Any suggestions on where to go from here? Edit. I went to the city office with my water bill and asked how it could be so off. Doing the math, my whole property would be covered in 3 feet of standing water, that there was just no way that much water was used. I was told that the only thing that could possibly because this is if the meter is bad, and needs replaced. If the meter is bad, they will eat the charges, and replace it. But because I no longer own the home, I can't authorize the meter to be replaced. And the new owners are out of state and do not currently live on the property and won't for some time. Update. I spoke with the city manager this morning. I explained that there was just no way I used 75,000 gallons of water. The city manager agreed with me that she couldn't see that amount of water being used either. She read the notes from the last 3 people I spoke with and wasn't pleased as to how I was treated. Unfortunately, after talking with a few old neighbors on Nextdoor, this has happened to several people, and the city acts the same way they did to me. The city manager, after listening to me, and seeing my former home's inspection, and statements from 2 of my old neighbors, she came to the same conclusion that I had. Either the meter is broken or there was a misread at some point. Because I no longer own the home, they decided to lower my bill to the same amount the month before, $115-ish, and make a note to replace the meter as soon as possible with no cost to the new owner. Thanks for listening.